this is probably going to create at least a few hate comments. So let me just be clear about the intention is not to cancel the person, but really to ask the question in a more, I think, forthright manner. Is it really that not just this person, but Rabbit, as well as some other people, right? We have to name a few names at least. Can't get away from that. Like Nora or Liz Gale, or some other allies of Aaron, are they really sincerely standing up for victims? I mean, that is the question that Lindsay and a few other women, and not just female victims, are pressing upon us. I mean, what is the standard? It seems the standard should be that we help victims, but that doesn't appear to be the real standard. So, what is the standard? So, now we're going to hear again, I want to prepare people because I know this is going to be misinterpreted. So, I want to try to be generous to the person, but we're going to see it's going to be a little hard. So, the person is going to make a strong claim that we need to be very critical of Mike Rinder. And if we're not critical of Mike Rinder, we are complicit in crimes. Now, I don't think this person is actually being literal. I understand it's being rhetorical, but it does create a problem. So let's hear Mirriam, and she will outline the alleged standard we should judge people by.
Only matters if a Scientologist committed it, and that the crimes of an anti-Scientologist should be absolved, then you are no better than the people who covered up for Danny Masterson.
Well, I've been fairly critical of Rinder, and I don't, as far as I know, cover up the crimes of, quote, anti-Scientologists. So this doesn't really apply to me. But let's say it did. Let's say I failed to be critical of a certain anti-Scientologist like Aaron Smith Levin. Would I be guilty of somewhat similar crimes that the people who covered up for Danny Masterson? Well, no. For instance, me failing to criticize Aaron on this or that point would not make me an OSA agent, male or female. I mean, the OSA agents who did cover up for Danny would be guilty of genocidal crimes, in my opinion. Just, this is YouTube. I want to be clear, that's an opinion of a Yahtzee-like organization. Since I've not been a part of a Yahtzee-like organization committed to the G word, genocide, no, that wouldn't make sense. So there's something illegitimate in the conclusion. To say I am no different than a Yahtzee from, I don't know, 20, 30 years of experience of hurting people on a scale of mass murder. Well, I can say I've done some shameful things in my life, but 30 years plus of crimes of genocide. No, I can't say I'm guilty of that. I don't think if you look through my whole record, no matter how badly you go through it, I'm going to get charged with that. So that can't be what she's saying, because if that is what she's saying, then she is saying she herself is an OSA agent. Now, I doubt that Mirriam would want me to, and I'm sure if I did, people would start screaming at me. How could I compare her to Danny Masterson? But that is what she's saying. So what is she saying? Well, I think she's probably saying something like this. And again, I'm not going to speak for her, but that was a rhetorical statement. It wasn't a logical point. So he wasn't making a logical argument, so it can be dismissed. But is there a logical argument we can lay out? I think we can lay out a broad principle like the following. Criticism should be proportional to what is being criticized. So Aaron Smith Levin does appear to be guilty of being very toxic and abusive to a large amount of people. Ergo, failure to criticize here is alarming and damaging. Does it make you Danny Masterson? No, it doesn't make you Danny Masterson. Does it make you Hitler? No, it does not make you identical to Hitler. It doesn't make you identical even to Mr. Masterson. But is it very suspicious? Yes, I do think it compromises your credibility to a large degree. Not completely, because Mirriam is a victim, and I think she's sincerely trying to help some victims, but it does call into question your credibility. It would seem it diminishes your credibility. It would seem to suggest you're just being very, very selective. Does that make you an OSA propaganda agent? Well, it's not good. It's not healthy. So we would just treat it as you can be considered a very, very partisan critic and or observer and be labeled as such fairly. Doesn't make you an OSA agent, but it would make us suspicious that you're not willing to be totally critical of Scientology, or in this case, anti-Scientology, and you have to be comfortable being labeled as such. So I don't think Mirriam can be labeled a tabloid journalist. Unfortunately, Rabbit, I think, could be. And Liz Gale and Nora are in a very murky danger zone that Nora certainly is a grifter. I think Liz is being sincere, but I definitely think that it is just tending towards being a partisan hack, which is not great. Again, it does not make you Adolphus, leader of the Yahtzees, but it is still very alarming. So it seems like your credibility is diminished severely. And I think that's probably where we stand. That by being so partisan, you've severely damaged your credibility. It's not completely gone. You're not equivalent to Adolphus. I don't think Mirriam can be called Adolphus, but it does seem like she is just too willing to be very, very partisan. And if that's the case, then it's not similar to covering up for Danny Masterson, but it is covering up some pretty harsh abuses. And that would mean it does seem you are willing to accept a lot of abuse if it's the right kind of person.